in a second.
I got the live stream.
Yeah, it's going to go in. We have 14 in the waiting room, so whenever you're ready. And it's actually, yeah.
Hi, Tunisia.
And then people cannot, yeah, and the chat is open.
Okay.
Okay, Nadia, you're a go.
Well, they're not
Yeah,
on
hold on.
yet, right?
Hold on,
Yep.
I'm meeting them now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Give it a minute. Let's 1 minute.
well, just tell them that then.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Nadia Levy, and I'm a member of the Admissions and Diversity Committee in D2. I'd like to introduce you to the co-chairs of the Admissions and Diversity Committee who are co-hosting this meeting. Robin Kelleher. She's a mom of 3 boys in D2 public schools. She's on the PTA exec board of PS 33 and Lab Middle School. She's an elected member of the Community Education Council in D2, and she is the co-chair of the Admissions and Diversity Committee, as I had mentioned earlier. The other co-host is Kaushik Das, also known as Kush, father of 2 daughters, former PS 33 SLT co-chair, also an elected member of the D2 Community Education Council and co-chair of the Admissions and Diversity Committee. They will be taking over from here, and thank you all for attending.
I just want to say thank you to everyone for attending tonight. I know it's a crazy time with parent-teacher meetings. We have Brilliant NYC shortly. There are open houses going on right now. It's a plethora of meetings back to back. So I know anyone who's here is just trying to tightly squeeze this into their schedule. What I would like to start with is a brief history of what we at CEC District 2 have put together in terms of history, what we have done in our action to try to save gifted and talented. So I'll start with on August 10th at our CEC calendar meeting. We passed a resolution number 175 requesting DOE engage families prior to announcing G&T changes. September 27th at a working business meeting, we wrote a letter that was agreed upon and passed and sent in support of resolution requesting DOE engage families, again, prior to announcing G&T changes. And then 3 days later, on September 30th, the Admissions and Diversity Committee meeting. We have a meeting to engage families on gifted and talented programs before any changes were announced. We had over 600 listeners, 40 speakers from districts 1, 2, 3, 4, and as far away as District 27. And I'd like to add that about 97% of those who spoke acknowledged their support in preserving gifted and talented programs and asked the DOE to engage parents and schools and principals before making any changes. So then we get an announcement by the mayor and the DOE. We all know what that announcement was, that G&T as we know it will no longer be. October 12th, we have a calendar meeting, passed a resolution 181 in support of accelerated learning and gifted and talented programs. As I said, that was passed. This was in an attempt to re-engage the DOE, try to get some reasons as to why they made an announcement and still hadn't reached out to us or responded to our letters or our resolutions. We heard nothing. On November 9th, calendar meeting for CEC, we passed another resolution, number 182, regarding middle school academic screening and interim differentiated learning. And again, that was passed. And that was an attempt to let the DOE know that parents strongly feel that children learn best in environments where peers are at the same level or close in level to their children so that teachers have a more focused group of students on a more similar grade level to which to teach without having to span 3, 4, 5, and possibly even 6 grade levels in a class of up to 32 students. Here we are today. We have yet to hear from Chancellor Porter. We have asked to have her come to the Brilliant NYC meeting. That was denied. We have asked other senior officials to come to our Brilliant NYC meeting. We have not heard from them. So we are here tonight to give parents a voice, to come together and come up with ideas as to how we can go into the Brilliant NYC meeting and really have a thorough engagement session. And if that doesn't happen, we are going to have a follow-up afterward where parents can voice their feelings, their thoughts, their hopes for next steps, and we will send those thoughts and ideas. We will send a compilation as well as a recording to the DOE so that if they will not come to us, we will come to them. And we promise your voices will be heard. And with that, I'd like to turn this over to Kush.
Yeah, I'll add on to what Robin said. Yeah, on top of that, we'll share with as many DOE as will listen, and we intend to pass on to Adams, Mayor-elect Adams' group as well, if we can get a hold of them. We do have some emails, but we hope to engage them as well. You know, I'll address the horse in the room. The title of this meeting is called "The DOE Plan is Not So Brilliant for NYC. We want to save and expand G&T under a new mayor." There are some that may object to this being so well obvious and where we lie. I point to the fact that, however, that the DOE has been disingenuous at every single level on this matter. We were promised an engagement way back when during the summer by Chancellor Porter, which never happened. And she never granted an audience to District 2, which we pleaded for officially and unofficially many times. This is certainly one of the largest districts in New York. It is one of the largest district G&T programs, if not the largest on both of those accounts. It is one of the largest student populations in New York City. It's also the district that had the most votes in our CEC elections. All that said, that is our big issue. And on top of that, in engagement so far, I've been to at least 3. I've been to District 4. I've been to District 3. I dropped in another district. Don't remember which one. The majority of these sessions start with, well, a lot of the earlier ones start with a long song and dance, basically selling the program for about 45 minutes. It's been shortened over time. But as recently as District 3 earlier this week, it was still at 45 minutes. Then they usually go out into a break. Sometimes there is chat open. More often than not, it has not been, or it has been closed halfway through. People are then shunted into breakout rooms. That has improved slightly from what I've seen over the past few sessions. And they are recording things, but our fundamental problem with this format is it starts with the assumption that you're implicitly agreeing with a Brilliant NYC that the G&T should be no more, when there was never such engagement that was promised for this, when there are rules that should be followed to disband something like this, and basically a complete lack of delivery on engagement on any level prior to this announcement. I think it is disingenuous at best. You'll hear a lot of statements from DOE officials saying that the programs that exist are not being destroyed. That is completely disingenuous. They have been fundamentally changed already by several uncertainties during this past year, COVID being one of them, but also middle school admissions, uncertainty regarding G&T, as well as geographic priority for high schools. On top of that, when you introduce more uncertainty this year, uncertainty in education, I liken it to uncertainty in the stock markets and real estate. It's 2 of the biggest industries in New York, and education, which I think is a supporting industry for people who go to work in those industries. At every level, you introduce uncertainty, introduce flight out of the system. Enrollment numbers, which have been delayed several times, have supported that. They have been released at some level. I saw some at District 3 yesterday. They were down 20%. I think that included, don't quote me on that, but I believe that included charter schools. But really, the most districts haven't been getting the data that they've asked for regarding enrollments so far. On top of that, it was in the email that went out. The DOE leadership has been we object to the DOE leadership hastily announcing advancing an entirely new and untested academic plan instead of demonstrating work with Mayor-elect Adams and his commitment to improve on our current system. We also object to what I mentioned before, the DOE continuing to deny their attempts to destroy nationally renowned G&T schools without even a pilot program or a phase-out period, which one might expect, especially when you've had some well-renowned schools that have been in U.S. News and World Report that are G&T schools. Among them are, and I know their parents representing most of these schools here, among them would be Anderson, Nest, Lower Lab, TAG, which is not in our district. There's also been a refusal to acknowledge how all these different systems are interconnected. Most of these engagement sessions have been they say they want to address the current community, but they fail to understand how these different systems are related. For example, TAG is down, from anecdotal reports, because we can't get official numbers, TAG is down 30 students already this year. This is after poaching several students from PS30 because they maintain their wait lists. And the reason why, and a lot of PS33 families have left specifically for TAG because of uncertainty related to the middle school situation. And because TAG offers acceleration, whereas PS33 offers some combination of enrichment and acceleration. These interrelated issues aren't acknowledged. When you try to bring them up in some of these meetings, sometimes you're often told, yes, but we're not talking about GNT, we are talking about Brilliant NYC. I'll leave that. Maybe I'll let Craig take over for a little bit, but we'll explain why that's disingenuous. He also wants to cover some of the other meetings that are going on tonight and why attendance is also, I don't know if it's due to intentional desire to reduce attendance at this meeting or just poor planning and poor communication. I suspect a little bit all the above, as District Superintendent Kelly was aware of this, and I believe, and my understanding is he did ask to change the date, but was denied by DOE Central. Craig, go ahead. And I think you're on mute.
Sorry, I was muted. Sorry about that. Thanks, Kush. Yeah. So I'm going to use the word that Kush used a lot, disingenuous, because this is supposed to be an engagement session at 6 o'clock. And if you want an engagement session, you really want to have the maximum amount of participants. So why would you schedule so many meetings the same night? So for example, there is a PEP meeting tonight that a number of people would like to attend. There are several PTA meetings tonight. I know at PS 111, there's a PTA meeting there. There are a number of open houses for parents who have children who are going into the upper grades. Tonight is the parent-teacher conferences for the upper schools as well. And also for kindergarten parents, such as myself, tonight is the one orientation for the RISE program, the college savings program. That is very exciting and very needed by many parents throughout the system. So people would want to go to that, but then they have the same meeting, they do this the same night, and I would think it's intentional. They have to know which night all these things are scheduled as this engagement session for Brilliant NYC. It's disingenuous, just to use that term one more time. You want a lot of participants? Well, then focus the meeting tonight, and don't have 5 other meetings the same night. It's just inappropriate. And that is something that is very troublesome to us.
Craig, you forgot there's also, I believe, college savings meeting tonight.
That's the RISE program.
Okay, got it. That's the RISE program.
Yeah.
PS33 did have a PTA meeting which they rescheduled. I would point out PS33 and PS 111 are both G&T schools, and both happen to have, I don't know if that's coincidental or not, but both PTAs have expressed concern. Actually, conspiracy concerns that was done, that this meeting tonight was done intentionally on their PTA general meetings. again, I let people decide that it is factual that was the case.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that Senior Deputy Chancellor Marisol Rosales would have known and been able to look at the schedule for all of these meetings and rescheduled, but she elected not to, apparently.
Robin, more talking points for tonight. I want to be quick, and then we'll do a quick Q&A before we go off to Superintendent Kelly's meeting.
Daniela, do you want to list the talking points, or Tunisia?
Oh, sorry, did I catch you off guard?
Well,
go ahead.
We have
if not, I'm happy to go.
The points. Why don't you go ahead, Kush?
Sorry.
You made a bunch just now, but I'd like to save enough time for parents to speak before we jump into the session.
Okay. I'll touch on two more talking points. Maybe we'll revisit if there's some time in the Q&A. But other things that people can advocate for in their meetings. First of all, please do point out that if you agree with any of the things that we just said, please do point it out. And if you're asked to be constructive and focus on Brilliant NYC, please do point out that it is impossible to have that discussion without some of the points that we discussed. And that we also would like to advocate for more seats in the existing G&T program to improve identification methods to ensure wider access for all communities, particularly underrepresented areas. Some people are interested in reinstating some form of screening that is age appropriate and ensures qualified applicants can handle the rigors of an accelerated program. Those are just some suggestions.
I'd like to add on that Brilliant NYC is what every classroom in a normal situation should look like. Every classroom should have opportunities for children who need more to get more work, to excel. That does not take away from the need for gifted and talented. That does not take away the need for more gifted and talented programs in every single district in all of New York. We need to reinstate some of these programs, expand them, and make sure everyone who tests in has a seat. And if we want to work on the testing, because we all know it's not perfect, let's do that. But Brilliant NYC should not be considered an alternative to gifted and talented. It should be what we expect in a general education population classroom. We need higher standards for all classrooms, not lower, and not delusion.
And one last factual point I'd like to add, it was brought up in the CEC District 3 meeting just yesterday. District planning was on that call. And when asked if there was additional room for G&T in some of the buildings, as there has been a significant drop in enrollment, has been pointed out, they said yes, but in the past that hasn't been allowed that wasn't an availability due to basically full classrooms and full buildings. That is no longer the case anymore. When asked why that couldn't be implemented right now, it was specifically pointed to that was a policy decision that was made. So there is room for additional expansion in current G&T to underserved areas as well, or at least the exploration of such possibilities, but it has not been allowed by policy. That was from District 3 meeting last night, which is recorded. I would like to jump to, unless any of my fellow committee members have anything to add right this second, I'd like to jump into a Q&A. And anyone who wants to raise a hand.
Please raise your hand with the hand raise button.
Tom has his physical hand raised. I see him in the center of my screen, so I'm happy to do that. Craig, can you unmute Tom Rockledge, please?
Yep. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I guess my question would be, how is this program, Brilliant NYC, at all compatible with the DOE's programs of equity? If a teacher has a finite amount of time in the classroom and is supposed to be teaching equitably, how is that at all compatible with teaching students that are performing at a higher level?
An excellent question.
Great question, Tom. I don't have an answer for you. I encourage parents to ask that question in their breakout rooms when they are there. I would also add there are many parents that pointed out that by pushing a program where there is acceleration within your local school, that you're just forcing families back to their local school, which in many cases reduces diversity. I can tell you that people that live down here in lower downtown, it is a very predominantly white neighborhood, and many of them travel for G&T programs throughout the district and throughout the city. Well, mostly Manhattan, but and to bring them all back here is just going to shunt them into their rather white school and probably reinforce that white and probably Asian, which I don't agree with how they lump that. That's a story for another time, but I would point that out.
I also want to add on that when we asked these questions in other engagement sessions for other districts that we attended, best answer they could come up with, well, it's very, very, very difficult to do, but it can be done. And this was the other side defending how Brilliant NYC could work. There were other teachers who said it's not possible, but their best case scenario was like, we can figure it out. It is possible, but difficult, which I didn't think was a really, acceptable answer. Let's call on someone else. Another question.
I see Nicolay.
Donna was, Nicolay and Donna. Donna had her hand up.
Yeah, Donna, let's go with you first. I'll unmute you.
Yeah, I did. You should be okay, Donna.
She's not.
Okay, there. There's muting and unmuting happening.
Right.
Hi there. My name is Donna. I just wanted to speak very quickly. I'm one of the co-presidents of the PTA at Nest Plus M, and I know I'm not in CEC2, but I did want to join and just let you know what transpired in our engagement session for Brilliant NYC. There was a lot of stuff that was being said, and it was very confusing and frustrating. But one of the things I would urge you to do is tonight is to really push and ask for their definitions. I don't think that they're being particularly transparent about what they mean when they say accelerated learning opportunities in Brilliant NYC. We all have our ways of thinking of what accelerated learning is. The traditional sense is, of course, going faster above grade level, etc. But it has been shared with our community in our school at our recent SLT meeting by our principal that what they're saying in Brilliant NYC, what they're referring to as accelerated learning is completely different. I don't know if you want me to just read it. I can also copy and paste in the chat so that you have it. But this is what was shared with us. So what does acceleration in the Brilliant NYC blueprint mean? In the blueprint, that word acceleration means that all students should be presented with opportunities to engage with rich and rigorous grade level work, and that prerequisite skills that have not yet been mastered should be addressed within this context. When children are challenged and coached through mistakes, learning is more meaningful and likely to be stored in long-term memory for future use. So essentially, acceleration in this context refers to pedagogical strategies that grows students' capacities for independent learning. That's what they're talking about when they say accelerated learning. They have not shared this they did not share it with us, certainly in our CEC1 engagement session, even though multiple people said, excuse me, what do you mean by accelerated learning? So I would urge you to make them answer to that. They lack transparency. So I feel like they're pulling a fast one, even on, parents who may not be on board with G&T, but they're looking at Brilliant NYC and they're saying, that's a great idea. Accelerated learning for everyone. Well, that's not what actually they mean, right? They're talking about something else.
Thank you, Donna. Nice to meet
you put that in the chat like you offered. It'd be great to have everyone read that while we go on to next questions. Thank you. Nicolay, you were next.
I just wanted to ask, given that everybody knows that this administration is going out in a few weeks, from your experience, from previous engagement meetings, what do you think they're really after? I mean, they cannot believe in their right minds that anything is going to be accomplished by them. I mean, given their history of underperformance, and given the fact that the incoming mayor said that most likely there's going to be a new chancellor and he has different views than the current administration. So, real politics, what are they trying to achieve by these engagement meetings after they made the announcement? And given that they have only a few weeks left until the new administration comes in? Just trying to understand what they're trying to do and what kind of potential lie and red herring they're trying to pull, so we can address it in the meetings that are starting in 5 minutes.
Nick, I don't know how to answer that without being accused of being very slanted or biased here, but I don't know if one of my colleagues want to answer this, but I don't believe their intentions are good. I think that is absolutely a question you should ask in the chat room. You may want to phrase it as something more politic, as how do you reconcile these current plans, given that a new mayor-elect is already in place and has announced it for a very different plan and policy than you anticipate. I do believe some people at DOE are probably thinking they're trying to do good. I think there is an element of slash and burn on the way out, because they feel that these programs are, you've heard all the terms, elitist, racist, segregationist. Again, that's my current, some of my suspicion. I think there's probably a wide range of in between. I think some of it's political. A lot of it, I think, is political, having to do with the mayor, the outgoing mayor's attempts to win a bid for governorship. But that's just my opinion.
I wanted to also add, I think that some of the intention is to make it difficult for Adams to put anything, to undo it. If you're putting it in place, it's much harder to undo everything than it is if you didn't actually implement it. So they're trying to rush to implement it, and then all of a sudden there's all this pressure on Adams to keep that in place, and it's very complicated to undo. And then that might lead to the failure of G&T altogether. And I think that's what they're hoping for. I don't want to that's just my opinion. But also, I think that the whole debate about whether to expand G&T versus abolish G&T is an ongoing sort of debate and movement that has been there longer than de Blasio was even in power. And I think that it's an ongoing debate. And I think that they're making it harder for any kind of expansion to happen if you're setting it back sort of in that direction.
I also want to add that I've heard that they have deleted a lot of the files from DOE Central, including like the guidebooks and some of the wait lists that have been long held secret in their lockbox of private information, and that for the Adams administration to come in and try to access school information and the records they have may be difficult to impossible. And
Yeah,
again,
some might.
That's true, but I've heard that.
Well, some might. Yeah, I actually discussed this specific issue with Danica Rux just a few days ago. That she's the executive superintendent of Manhattan. While she shook her head no and said, no, that can't be, I said, look, do I think that the DOE is burning file cabinets of information? No, I don't think that's the case. However, it is a fact that links to Gifted and Talented have been taken down from the DOE website, and that when you en masse do things like that, very often electronic connections and files are, if not necessarily deleted, quite difficult to restore to the original paths and find out where things are. To which she did nod her head. So you can decide where you are on this scale, but to some extent, there is inherently some destruction happening, whether we agree with it or not.
Let's take one question. A question, unless you want to add something else.
I'll take as many questions as long as people want to stay here. It does start in 1 minute. If people want to hop and leave, that's great. If people want to stay and push the 10 minutes, I'm happy to do that. I will. I do see a question regarding how to get in. I don't necessarily have a great answer, but I will address that last at like 6:08. Michelle,
I think Michelle was first, and then we'll go to Kai.
Yeah, I'll be quick because I know people want to move on to the discussion. So I just introduce myself. I'm a D3 parent. I'm part of the Anderson Working Group, just volunteers who are supporting advocacy work, along with co-authoring some of our position paper at Place NYC. I would really encourage people to read Renzulli's student enrichment model. This is what the entire SDAC report based Brilliant NYC on. We saw last night on When the DOE's Employee, literally a tab that said Renzulli. So I am pretty confident that this is the model that they are going to use. And we talked to numerous gifted researchers who have criticized this model for not really meeting accelerated learner needs. And he has, if you take a look, again, Renzulli, Renzulli, he has 3 types of activities. 1 is general exploratory activities, 2 is group work, and 3 is kind of more real problem group work. The whole premise is that as a kindergartner, you're going to be going to video centers, for example. So that's one concrete example of how it would be used. Or you're going to do read aloud video slides on a particular area that you're interested in. So this is the type of quote unquote acceleration that the DOE is trying to push. The other thing that you guys should note is that during one of our breakout rooms, one of the DOE reps, the one who ended up yelling at us afterwards, said that a lot of this delivery is going to be done through online Zoom. So that is something you guys really need to ask the DOE, because a lot of this has already been documented. Karanzat had already mentioned this, that he was thinking of creating large classes, 50, 60 plus kids across the borough, and expecting a teacher to deliver this. So again, that is their definition of what enrichment and Brilliant NYC learning is going to be. It'll be, in my mind, no better than a glorified out-school class.
Thank you, Michelle. Sorry to rush you, but I want to take one more question from Kai, who I see has a hand up, and then I'll address one question that's in the chat. And then I'll stay as long as I can till 6:08. Kai, go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I just want to remind my personal experience in the D3 meeting in the breakout room. The moderator just twisted my opinion when she wrote down the note. She didn't faithfully write down what I have said. She just, from my broken English, I'm an immigrant. She has a very advanced English skill. English is art. She just changed a few words, changed the sequence of the word. She totally updated my opinion. So I want to remind everybody, pay attention to the note. When they just let them write down what I have said. Don't let them modify or manipulate your speech. They are very, very sneaky. That's just one breakout room. I don't want to accuse every moderator in other breakout rooms because I don't know the situation. But I hope everybody can pay attention. Otherwise, our voice will be suppressed. So that's it.
Yeah, let me amplify what Kai had to say. There were many complaints about that. There were many complaints of people writing, I don't believe this, and and then they logged in one piece of it. I think experiences will vary highly from moderator to moderator. I do think that we do have a better relationship with our district superintendents than maybe perhaps some other CECs. Some of those might be tighter. I do think our district superintendent is trying to do a better job and has heard these complaints. But I do think experiences will vary tremendously from moderator to moderator in your room. They're going to range from principals who were drafted into this to there will be 2 CEC members. Danielle, you met one, Daniela. The other one will be the CEC president, all the way up to potentially Marisol Rosales, who is the second deputy chancellor. Though my guess is she will likely be hopping from room to room. I did see a little while ago that the other meeting hasn't started yet. So again, people who are interested in pushing it may stay.
Before everyone jumps off, I want to remind you that it's a separate link to get on to the post meeting. So after Brilliant, if you'd like to come back and give us your thoughts so that we can send them along, please do. But please remember to register again because it will be a different link. And that's on the CEC D2 page. Also, I'll put that in the chat right now, just in case you didn't register in advance.
Yeah, and it is on that page. It is also in the email. There, depending which email you got, but there are 2 different links, one higher than the other. The one from this evening is a different link, indeed. I would also recommend, if you ever have any issues, you should please, if any friends have issues, I do recommend logging into Zoom first for both the next meeting and ours. Logging into Zoom first, and make sure you register with that same email address and log in when you register for either the D2 meeting or our meeting. I'm going to take.
It's asking for a passcode. Is anyone else having that problem?
Anna, can you unmute? Can you unmute Anna and explain? Asking for a passcode where?
I unmuted her.
Hi. So I just tried the meeting number that was suggested in the pamphlet when I registered, and I can read you the meeting number 858.
No, I see it. But which meeting are you talking about? Are you talking about this meeting?
I know. I logged into the other one, and it was asking me for a passcode. I logged into the 6 o'clock one. I tried to log in actually, but it was asking. That, yes, does anyone else have that problem, or maybe I'm doing something wrong?
I'm going to try another one. Robin or Craig, if you want to.
Yeah. I know a few other people have actually logged on. Does anybody else have that issue?
I'll just try this link that you just sent. Maybe it's a different meeting ID.
The link I just sent out is for our 7:30 meeting. It's for our 7:30 follow-up.
Oh, okay. So what number meeting do you have for this one? Can you resend that in the chat?
For the 6 o'clock meeting?
Yes.
Just so we're clear, the 6 o'clock meeting is not meeting that we
Right,
run.
that's not us, right.
I know. Yes, but
you should have registered and you should have gotten something back.
Yeah, I just registered. I didn't know there is a deadline by 12, so they haven't sent me anything.
They didn't give you a.
And it just gave me a meeting number, but when I did that, it wasn't working. It was asking me for a passcode.
So it looks like right now there's no video and you're not able to show your name or video or chat. It's just, this is what you should be seeing.
So,
Video option.
For the 6 o'clock, I'm going to type in the meeting ID and code that I got. I'm going to type in the meeting ID and code that I received. I don't know if it's the same for everybody else. People can give it a try. This is for the 6 o'clock meeting. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Well, hold on. Let me log in.
can I just point out something? On the D3 meeting, they weren't recording it through the Zoom recording feature, but they are for this one. Obviously, it doesn't give us access to the recording, but that's just something to point out. Who has access to this recording? Obviously not during the meeting, but afterwards.
I am logged into the D2 Brilliant meeting. They are starting. I am going to drop off soon. Is there anyone left that with any pressing questions? I could also try to leave this room up. Not opposed to that. Craig, do you want to, I actually have it on another computer. So do you want to transfer hosting to me?
I mean, it's a different, you want to keep this open during the meeting?
Is there any value to that? Thumbs up, thumbs down?
I can keep it up and watch from my phone also, like Robin is doing. It's up to you.
I'm happy to keep it open for a little while longer since they're just going through, it looks like they're just going through the Brilliant plan, which sadly I know, well, I know too much about and know that there's not enough information there.
Well, we're down to 18 people, just so you know, in this room.
I did see that.
Yeah, so, and that's including
4 of
us, like you and me and Tunisia.
Sorry, I was logging into the other meeting on my phone there.
Rosales is speaking now.
It feels good to be back in Manhattan and in community with District 2.
Who is Rosales? Marisol Rosales is the second deputy chancellor. She's basically second in charge after Porter.
Yeah.
And it is rumored that she is the one that's in charge of Brilliant NYC, not verified.
Are the rest of the families gonna go into the meeting, or are they still struggling to get in?
I think at least some of the people here are logged in 2 places. Lawrence, you asked quite problems before. Were you able to get in? I'm guessing not. And I would ask, did my code work for anybody? One person that's still having trouble getting in, 857. Tunisia, I have the same code that you have. So based on what I'm seeing, it looks like it's the same meeting ID and passcode for everyone. But those who didn't register, oh wait.
Nadia is on.
Nadia is on. So somebody was able to make that work. Tunisia, can you put that URL in the chat? Is that possible for you to do, or is that too hard?
Wait, that thing that I just sent Nadia?
Yes.
Yeah, let me get into my email and I'll send it.
I have what it was sent to me.
Okay.
I don't know if it's the same one, probably is.
Okay. Craig, I'm gonna have to hop. Need to feed kids as I listen to this.
Should we end the meeting and just regroup at 7:30 or whenever the meeting's over?
I am inclined to end it unless I see some thumbs up or thumbs down on. Why don't you unmute everybody and if anyone wants to chime in, this will be remain open or closed.
This is Chen. Hi, everybody. I'm fine to hop off. I suggest all our families to join the Brilliant NYC meeting, and then we regroup at the second registration link. I'll see you in a bit. Thank you so much.
And for any families that are having trouble logging on, I still do encourage to join us at 7:30. I think we will try to open our meeting at 7:30, whether the other one is done or not. Would you agree, Craig?
Yeah. Sure.
And yes, even if you weren't able to participate because of any technical issues or DOE shortcomings, please do join us again, and perhaps we can recap some of it for you, and you can still participate in the discussion. See you guys soon.